Hello, very beautiful community. I'm delighted to have found a health allowing moment to speak to you about something unlovely, I'm afraid, but something that you've asked me to comment on for quite a few days now, and that is the latest escalations from Mr. Kadyrov, who has issued a blood feud against three people, including Mr. Suleiman Kerimov, who is a billionaire Dagestani senator. Now, what's this conversation all about? It's a conversation about stability of power in Chechnya and stability of power in Moscow and the interconnection between the two. If things begin to move in Chechnya, that's significant and existential for Moscow. And of course, if things begin to move in Moscow, that's very significant and existential for Chechnya. So this is inevitably an endgame conversation. It's a conversation about how all the complex actors involved are thinking about a possible transition of power both in Moscow and in Chechnya. So what I'm going to do is give you a bit of background just by reading from Moscow Times articles. I'm going to give you a little bit of big picture analysis, and it's big picture because it's very important talking about this region that I don't overstep my lane, because there are regional experts and we're going to trample on their feet. That's very significant. So let's go. Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov declared a blood feud against three federal lawmakers hailing from the neighborhood republics of Dagestan and Ingushetia. The statement was yet another twist in the month-long dispute between Tatiana Kim, the CEO of Russia's largest online retailer, Wildberries, and her estranged husband, Vladislav Bakalchuk. In the summer, Kadyrov vowed to help Bakalchuk to return his wife after she filed for divorce and to block the Wildberries planned merger with the Rus Group, a much smaller outdoor advertising firm linked to Dagestan-born oligarch and politician Suleiman Kerimov. The business standoff escalated in September when Bakalchuk led a group of men to the Wildberries Moscow headquarters and allegedly tried to force their way into the building. The ensuing shootout resulted in two people losing their lives, two Wildberries security guards, and multiple felony charges against several ethnic Chechens involved in the incident. Bakalchuk was arrested shortly afterward and charged with multiple criminal offenses. Now, in the same speech, Mr. Kadyrov alleged that Kerimov took Wildberries from Kim and ordered Kadyrov's assassination, adding that he has witnesses able to attest to these claims. Now, a blood feud is an ancient custom practiced by pre-state clan-based communal societies in North Caucasus as a mechanism for protecting the honor, dignity, and property of the clan. Rules and principles of engaging in a blood feud differ from one North Caucasus nation to another, but they traditionally involve only men of legal age and center around the duty to avenge a murder of one's relative by killing the offender or his relatives. Russia's wealthiest woman, Tatiana Bakalchuk, who founded Wildberries in 2004 and has an estimated net worth of $7.4 billion, has announced that she is divorcing her husband and business partner Vladislav Bakalchuk, who is seeking the help of Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov to fight what is characterized as a hostile takeover of the leading online retailer, Wildberries. Bakalchuk later told state media that the couple did not sign a prenup and would have split their property in half. Tatiana Bakalchuk has not commented on the division of property, noting that her husband, Vladislav Bakalchuk, formerly only owns 1% of Wildberries. Tatiana Bakalchuk's bombshell announcement came after Kadyrov posted a video in conversation with Vladislav Bakalchuk in which the Chechen strongman vowed to, quote, return Tatiana to the family and protect a legitimate business. In that conversation, Kadyrov and Vladislav Bakalchuk accused the outdoor advertising firm Rus Group of seizing wildberries under the guise of a merger. Wildberries and Rus Group announced a merger last month to create a joint digital trading platform under the new name RWB. Rus Group's Robert Mirzoyan is expected to become the chief managing director of RWB, with Tatiana Bakalchuk as its director general. The independent business outlet The Bell suggested that the RWB merger may be part of Russia's wartime redistribution of assets that has rewarded Kremlin-linked business figures. Reports surrounding the RWB deal said Bakalchuk and Mirzoyan had presented the merger to Putin as a way to create the world's largest ruble-based digital banking network and payment system, bypassing SWIFT and rivaling global giants like Amazon, Alphabet, and Alibaba. The Kremlin said it was not involved in, quote, family affairs and especially business relations when asked about Kadyrov's comments. We were indeed asked about the president's instructions to support the merger. We can only support it. We're not the executors. It's up to corporate action, said spokesman Dmitry Peskov. Now, what we've got is elites and armed elites fighting between themselves, right, around propriety of this big online business. It seems that Kadyrov declaring a blood feud is a kind of threat. It sounds peculiar because nobody's been killed, so why do you declare a blood feud? And indeed, a blood feud is banned in Chechnya, but Kadyrov can do anything he wants. And the background to this are telegram rumors, according to which Kerimov ordered Kadyrov's elimination. So what Kadyrov has said is that the blood feud stands until Mr. Kerimov proves that these rumors are false. So let's get absolutely clear about what's happening here. Mr. Kadyrov is publicly and directly challenging, with threats of violence, an arrangement that has been approved by Mr. Putin. So we've already seen this story of Mr. Prigozhin appealing to Mr. Putin by making various kinds of threats as part of a situation in which conflict between elites has got out of control in Putin's regime. It's very standard for Putin to outsource presidential power and then come in and referee the conflicts that ensue. But certainly with Mr. Prigozhin, we've seen an extreme example of that getting out of control. There will be political forces now in Russia that are keen to diminish Mr. Kadyrov's power, especially when time comes for a transition in Chechnya, with the hope that this is a transition that can be controlled by them and not as controlled by Mr. Kadyrov as Mr. Kadyrov would like. And the way I frame this is in terms of an endgame conversation, right? Obviously, if it were to happen that things in Moscow begin to wobble first, that would have a very profound effect on stability in Chechnya. But instability in Chechnya and an imminent transition of power would have a very destabilizing effect on Moscow. And there are doubts as to how far Moscow could control such a transition of power, or how far, if it were to set out in control of such a transition of power, it could maintain that control. And so, as a political philosopher, what I can say here is that, and we've learned this from the Prigozhin case, human relationships don't matter when events take over, right? There's a long-standing relationship that Mr. Kadyrov has with Mr. Putin. But new political realities will always condition such relationships to take the form that will always condition such relationships to take the form that they will as a result of these events. And sort of the historic background of the relationship here might come to matter less very rapidly. So, of course, at the moment, Chechnya is a dictatorship run by Mr. Kadyrov. Russia largely does not have monopoly over organized violence in Chechen territory. That's why it's a strange question in a way that you always ask. Should Chechnya break for independence in the future? Will Chechnya break for independence? Because the degree to which Chechnya is already independent is very, very significant. But all of this drama is to be seen against the background of agents, actors on the Russian space increasingly having consciousness about this business of transit and having consciousness of both what shape they want Putin's regime to be in when it begins to run into a dynamic of transition of power, and what shape they want the Chechen regime to be in when it runs into a situation of transition of power. And the machinations around this will only escalate over time. And one of the possibly reasonable forecasts here is that Mr. Kadyrov's power may, over time, begin to weaken, and he will have to engage in various kinds of escalations to rebalance that predicament. That's a couple of cents. Lots of love.